Money in the Bank review. I'm Will. That's Brandon. We are the Cousins of Destruction Wrestling Podcast. As always, let's talk about some wrestling. Or cheers and talk about some wrestling, huh?
Man, this was an interesting PLE, I guess.
It was.
That'll be a way to put it, I guess.
It was. We're going to do this how we do our Raw and SmackDown. We're going to pop and drop this stuff. So we're going to go segment by segment. We're just going to go through the entire thing, give our thoughts and opinions. Let's get right into it, as we say. Huh? We got opening up in Toronto. Mm-hmm. Same place as SmackDown. Place is packed. They're saying 19,000 strong, and they're loud in there, and it's looking like it's gonna be a good little PLE when they open
bottom to top, behind the stage. It is jam packed.
As much as I miss the old days of like custom sets per like big events. When you're selling out stadiums and you can't have big sets because you got people willing to sit behind the damn set in the back, it's like, okay, this is kind of cool. I like this.
Yeah, I kind of like it. I do wish custom sets would come back, but then it's also like you have to scale those down so small to where you have the room still for the people, and then it's just kind of like,
I mean, they had the ladders out there when they walked out. I mean, I guess that qualifies.
It's no, like, what is it, Fast Lane that had the cars?
Yeah.
NASCAR. It's not like that.
Yeah, when Cena, like, F-U'd Batista onto one. Anyway, we started off hot here. Hot. Men's Money in the Bank. And I sat there and I went, oh, Drew's chances skyrocketed here. We're starting the PLE with it. As we mentioned earlier in the week or last week when we did our predictions, our early predictions, and then we did our wish list for Money in the Bank. We both said that, like, wherever the Money in the Bank match falls on the card can pretty much spoil the outcome of multiple things that are happening tonight.
Yeah, and as soon as, Money in the Bank match, here we go, I said, son of a gun.
Yeah.
Right then and there, I knew. I said, well.
They had to capitalize off a hot crowd because Jey Uso was the first person that entered, and the place was yeeting. The place was yeeting.
Not as many Fireflies this time, I noticed.
No, they got to stop the Fireflies,
They slowly are phasing those out.
Also, Michael Cole in the press conference for it a couple days before said that they wanted to, like, make it a whiteout.
Yeah.
And nobody did that.
Yeah.
What did they expect? Like the WWE universe is just gonna, like, make sure to wear your white shirt. Why wouldn't you just supply some white shirts that just
or towels or I don't know, something
like anything? But I was assuming they were doing the whiteout for Jey Uso, right?
That's what they had said. Yeah. It's like an NBA game where they always lay the shirts down. They're like, let's do if you're Golden State, let's do like a gold out, those type of things.
Yeah.
And no shirt. You got to go buy the shirts.
Yeah. There's a whiteout out there for $35.99, $50 at AEW. Anyway, we got ourselves a Money in the Bank match. Jey Uso, LA Knight, Chad Gable, Drew McIntyre, Andrade, and Carmelo Hayes. And this was one of two bangers for the night in terms of Money in the Bank matches. It quickly became Jey Uso versus LA Knight in the ring because they're doing the whole they're capitalizing off of SmackDown, the yeet and yeah chants, man. You trade them off, you get a yeet from the crowd. Yeah.
It's so nice, though.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
It's not the only time they're going to do that. So, but they both end up fighting the rest. So LA Knight actually did a suicide dive through the ropes, and then Jay did his on the other side. So they kind of just, like, postponed the inevitable confrontation between the two of them with that. But I got a ton of notes for these matches because, as we all know, Money in the Bank matches are just spot fests. Mm-hmm. So we have Drew was booked really strong here, mad. Every time that he stepped in the ring or did anything, they were like, look at how mad the Irishman or the Scottishman is today. Mm-hmm. And he was just there for one thing only, to win the Money in the Bank and then cash it in. So they weren't wrong. But when he was booked to do it, he would pick up a ladder early and do the spot where he kind of just goes around hitting people with it. But everybody got a shining moment during this match. Everybody did. So we had Gable do an arm bar to Drew McIntyre at the top of the ladder. So, like, literally Drew's at the top of the ladder and Gable's laying off of it, arm barring him. And then Andrade does a leg drop off the top rope to Gable doing it.
Yeah.
It's like, damn.
That was pretty sweet.
Mello was... he did exactly what everybody thought he was going to do for this match. He was the athlete that will take any bump. Basically the young guy who was there to do young guy shit and shined at it.
And what was really, I thought, funny was seeing some of the press conference stuff. afterwards, the post conference press, whatever you want to call it, they showed everybody walking out. So you see like Andrade walking out, and he's like hobbling, holding his back, and Melo, like they show a couple other people, and then Melo's just walking normally fine.
Really?
He just like acts like he's not hurt at all. Like
because he's him.
It must be that young guy stuff, you know.
He's him. Another guy who was booked pretty strong here was Chad Gable, though. He had a spot here where he caught Melo midair and would German suplex him. Then he would go over, German suplex on Andrade, go over and do a roll up German on somebody else. I think it was LA Knight. And then he'd walk over and he would German suplex the ladder into Andrade again. Yeah. He threw it kind of weak because he couldn't see him and didn't want to kill him, but I thought it was hilarious.
It's a very interesting spot. Like I've never seen that spot before.
No,
creative, you know.
Yeah, we had power bombs on the ladders from Drew. LA Knight was hitting BFTs. They had a spot where it was LA Knight, Drew McIntyre, Jey Uso in the ring. Probably the three biggest guys or most over guys. You could argue Chad Gable in there, but probably the three most over guys in the match. But LA Knight and Jey Uso would put their fighting to the side for a moment to take out the bigger dude. LA Knight would hit the BFT on Drew McIntyre, and then he would pull him into the center of the ring so that Jey Uso could do a splash. That would end up in Jay and LA at the top of a ladder, and then there we go. We're trading the yeeting yas at the top of the ladder. We're going crazy with it until Melo comes in and shoves the ladder over. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, just a bunch of stuff here. I can go on and on about you know the spots, a bunch of ladder spots. People getting suplexed on the ladders, belly to belly suplexes over top ropes through ladders. Yeah, all the great stuff that you expect in these Money in the Bank matches. You expect with these six guys in the ring. It was great, but the end of it's happening. Jay is climbing to the top of the ladder, and crowd's going wild. They're yeeting. They're yeeting. Everybody's going wild. They're gonna give it to Jay, and then Drew picks up a ladder and freaking throws the ladder at him at the time. Like he, what's it called? Like javelins it.
Yeah, he basically javelin throws the ladder right at him.
He javelin throws a ladder, nails Jey Uso at the top. Jay, he falls. Drew hits a claymore on him just for good measure. Drew climbs up that ladder. He stands tall. Drew McIntyre wins it. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and pop it. The match was great. The Drew stuff, I think we can get into that a little bit later. Mm-hmm. But even if we're going to get into that later, I mean, there was a lot of, like, Jey Uso is in this match. Chad Gable's in this match. We also spoke about how there were no run-ins. You know, what if there were no run-ins? Everybody was almost under the impression that we are getting some form of run-in, whether it just be Logan Paul, whether a light flickers for Howdy, whether AJ Lee shows up, CM Punk here. Nothing. Clean match here, and Drew wins it.
Yeah, I was pretty shocked, to say the least, about the no run-ins.
Yeah.
I thought something with the amount of just different people in the match, the amount of storylines we thought, and it was like, okay, well, I would imagine something happens here to cost somebody.
Yeah.
But no, they kept it clean. I'm going to pop it as well. I thought it was a good match, good way to start the show. I will say, out of the two, as we'll get into later, 2 Money in the Bank matches, it was the worst of the two for me.
Yeah, but I think it's because the women's match was freaking amazing.
Yeah, but this match was good. It was a really good way, and nobody really looks weak coming out of this match. Mm-hmm. Everybody looks good. Everybody, like you said, did their stuff. Sometimes there's like one or two people in the Money in the Bank, you're like, well, this person didn't get any shine, or like, I didn't see anything from this person. But
honestly, the guy who won probably did the least. Mm-hmm. I mean, dude's massive. It's hard for massive guys like that to do. Like, he can't be doing top ladder stuff. Like, he can't be falling off ladders and stuff.
Can't be Claymore kicking somebody off the top of a ladder.
No, it's hard for guys like him. But he did his job and looked strong. And it just begs the questions though, like. What for? Like, we've said it for the past, like, it's basically since Mania. We've been sitting here. No, since Clash. Yeah, Clash is when he lost to Damian, right? Or no, Backlash. Backlash. Jay lost to Damian. Yeah. And so since Backlash, we've been sitting here like, Jay's the most over in the company. He needs something. Gonna give him King of the Ring? Nope. Jay's the most over in the company. Gotta give him something. What's next? Money in the Bank. That's a whole year. You don't even need to cash it in right away. Guess not. Like, what is in it, or what are they doing with Jay now?
Yeah, I don't really know. Obviously, eventually you'll get the bloodline stuff, but in terms of until that point, I have no idea.
Well, I mean, he's on a different show too. Like it feels like the bloodline stuff is more far away than ever for Jay.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. Yeah. But I thought Money in the Bank honestly would have been a way to get him to go from Raw to SmackDown. I'd mentioned that before. I thought it was maybe like a lazy booking way, but it was also a pretty seamless way. Like his music just hits, he shows up, boom, I want to cash this in or whatever. But I don't really know how you do that now. I don't know what you do with Jay because this kind of feels like a big character point. Like, what does he do now? Because there's no goes off this way, goes off this way. There's a rivalry. I mean, I guess he's gonna have a match with Chad Gable, and they'll start that up maybe, and maybe they have a feud.
Maybe they team up against Howdy and them.
I'm thinking maybe they have a feud. Now that I'm thinking about this out loud, Gable and him have a feud, and Howdy's gonna pick a side. Like he's gonna pick his target, whether it's Gable or whether it's Jay. But like Howdy's gonna pretty much determine that feud.
Man.
So maybe Howdy comes out, maybe they're fighting, and it doesn't have to be on Raw, but maybe a couple times down the line, Howdy comes out and he attacks Jay, and then Howdy's in that.
I just don't know. I don't know if it'd be smart to put Jay at all in there with Howdy, just in this situation. I know that you and I have been outspoken about how we think that he's more involved in the Howdy stuff than the general audience does. But the more you think about it, like, he's the most over guy in the company. He keeps losing, and Howdy, whatever they do with Howdy, he's got to come out on top. Like whatever they do, whether it's a match, whether it's just like storyline weirdness, like Howdy has to be standing tall at the end of it. And then if you have Jay in there again, it's just going to be another L for him in some way. So it's like, dude, what? As a crowd that is chanting yeet for him every time he comes out, like how long is that going to last? Like how long is this goodwill of just, we like you, it doesn't matter if you succeed, we just like you, bud? So how long is that going to carry?
Yeah, I don't know. But if I had to say, I would say WWE would probably do it anyway, because he has, like, if you think about it, like, he has not really done anything. I mean, he's main event Jey Uso. He's not in the main event. He loses King of the Ring. He loses Money in the Bank, and he's still over.
To be fair, I don't remember the last time they actually said main event.
I think he called himself that, or somebody called him that. Maybe within this past week build up somehow, some way. Maybe I'm wrong, but so they had that moniker and they had that nickname and all that stuff, but he's still been over. I can see WWE being like, "Hey, we want you to put the Howdy stuff over, because at the end, like, you're still so over, you're gonna come out on top, still on the other side."
Yeah, but
now that's a
how
gamble.
Long?
That's a gamble.
How long?
That's like, a real gamble.
Because he's not even putting guys over. It's not like he's giving rub off to anybody. He just isn't winning the big ones. Like that's all it is. It doesn't feel like Jay doing the job. Because to me, he hasn't built enough stock in him to have that kind of rub, in my opinion. Like I like Jay, but he doesn't have like Drew McIntyre has enough in him where if he were to get in a random rivalry with Chad Gable, right, and they had a one-on-one rivalry and they go back and forth and Drew ends up dropping a match of Chad, that would feel like there's some good rub there. Like you can say Chad beat Drew McIntyre clean. That's some good rub. But like right now, you beat Jay. Dang.
Yeah. I think it's more so like the psychology for like if the Howdy stuff does happen and they take over and they destroy Jey Uso, you can have them like that's the fan favorite, that's the most over person, and look what they did, and you can kind of do it that way. I see what you mean about like the rub side of things. It's just like a different way to put somebody over without it. But now you look, SummerSlam's less than a month away.
Yeah.
And Jay's going to be on a card.
It's got to be Jay versus Chad. But it's a matter of how much involvement Howdy has in it. And it's a sticky situation that they need to tread lightly on, because Jay is over, but you can waste that rocket fuel, bro. Like,
well, and that's three. Like Gable's more over than he's ever been.
Yeah,
Jay's more over than he's ever been. Howdy obviously is really over.
Yeah, this
is a really, really difficult spot.
Well, it's a good point. Yeah, it's a completely good point, because Chad's sort of the same way as Jay, as like he's the most. Now he's more of a heel, right? Mm-hmm. So it's okay for him to be losing, but he's the most over Chad Gable has ever been in his career by a mile. And if he loses again, it's like, okay, well now you've also lost 30 times. Like is it King of the Losers match? Is it like the end of the streak match, except for the streak is losing? Like, what are we doing here?
Kurt Hawkins be the special guest referee.
Kurt Hawkins. Chad Gable versus Jey Uso with Kurt Hawkins. I'm down. I am absolutely down. But one last point that I want to make about this match, and then we'll move on, is that as good as the match was and everybody did their part, never once felt like a SmackDown guy was going to win this. Never in the match. There was never a second in this match where I was like, oh, LA Knight might have a chance. No. Andrade might have it. No. Mello looks great, but never a spot here. It was definitely Raw's match to win. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and then you look at, we'll peek behind the curtain, go to the women's Money in the Bank. Never once did I think a Raw woman was winning that one.
Yeah.
It was pretty much just like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, this is SmackDown women's to lose here, you know?
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next match. Good old boy Sami Zayn.
There we go. Sammy Hogan.
Sammy Hogan. We got Braun Breaker versus Sami Zayn, IC Intercontinental title match. Toronto loves their hometown boy, obviously. Sami Zayn was getting some love. He was...
You know, I did like the point, Corey Graves made it with Kevin Owens, I believe, or maybe it was Sami Zayn, I can't remember. Maybe it was Chelsea Green. I don't know. There were multiple Canadians on the card. And they were like, well, he's not even from Toronto. Why do they just get to claim the whole country? And I was like, you know what? I like that.
Well, no, they
I like that point.
But they always mention Randy Orton as being a hometown guy when he comes to KC Mo. When St. Louis is pretty far away. I mean, that's not a...
Well, and I guess it's a little bit different because, you know, Canada's a country versus just like states or cities or whatever. So I guess I get it. But to hear Corey Graves say that, I was like, yeah, you know what, Corey? Yeah,
Toronto. Why you like this guy?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, maybe it's just my hate for Sami Zayn. Maybe
that's like if every WWE superstar came out and because they were born in America, they were the hometown guy.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Rhode Island and LA Knight from LA. Hometown guy. Anyway.
Sorry to our Canadian viewers. We just think it's funny.
Yeah, no. You guys were a great crowd. Braun Breaker was booked strong at the beginning of the match. Mm-hmm. So he was kind of just tossing Sammy around, doing push-ups, you know, kind of making fun of him. He begged Sammy to hit him one point. He was like, come on, do it. And Sammy smacked him, and then Sammy paid the price for it. Then Sammy kind of had his own little offense. He did that thing where he does the sit-down springboard. He did like a sit-down springboard moonsault to the outside of the ring, and Braun had to like come up pretty far for it because Sammy shot it a little short, or maybe Braun was too far back. I don't know. The camera angles are always on Sammy at that point, so you don't really know. But Sammy's knee caught him like right in the nose. So
yeah. Obviously, we're not professional wrestlers, but it reminded me of the Ray Logan Paul one.
Yeah.
Sammy did look like he hit it a little bit short, but at the same time, we can see it. Braun might have been in the wrong spot.
Michael Cole finally said, "I say it every week, but this man runs the ropes at 23 miles an hour." And he did it. He ran the ropes and shoulder tackled Sammy. It looked great as always. What else do we got here? Middle of the match was all Braun, suplexes. He would do a bunch of strong moves, and then he would go for pins, and Sammy would kick out instantly. So they were doing the whole Sammy's getting his ass kicked, but like he can do this all day type thing. It's like he's Captain Canada.
I think somebody did say that. One, either Cole or Graves, one of them was like, "Oh yeah, you can't keep Sammy down."
Yeah,
like he can, and like
no, that's
literally
100%.
word for word. And I was like, okay.
That's how they're booking it. Braun would powerbomb him through the mat and then give a pin and be a 1. It's like okay. This is what we're doing here. Okay. Sammy would do his comeback. He'd hulk up a little bit. He'd do a running top rope DDT, kind of where like how Undertaker used to do it, where he'd walk the ropes, except he'd go into a springboard DDT off it. Good stuff. Match would spill to the outside of the ring. And Sammy would go out there and he was doing his dazed WWE 2K. And Braun was like, oh, this is my chance to do my outside around the ring spear. And he did it. And just like Raw, Sammy hopped it. But Braun, smart Braun. No, he's not dumb monster. He's good monster. He's like, no, I saw it. You already did this. I'm stopping myself. And he turned around and punched Sammy. And then he set him up for his apron clothesline into the announce table. And he hit it well.
Which is just impressive every time he does it.
I mean, he's going to do it every single match from now on. So eventually it'll get old. But like to me, it's like, yeah, I like that. That's cool.
I've never seen anybody do it. And he hits it every time.
If that becomes his vintage Orton, like, good for you. We'll call it vintage Braun. Anyway. Then the stuffy stuff happens. So Sammy, they both get back into the ring. Sammy kind of gets the upper hand. I forget how. He might have landed some offense on the outside real quick for Braun to kind of be stumbling. But he goes for a Helluva Kick, but Braun Breaker runs and high knees the shit out of him. Like he goes for the Helluva Kick, and Braun literally jumps up to the point where his knee is like in Sammy's like standing up vertical in his forehead. Dude got high. But Braun would go for the spear right after that, and Sammy would give him like a kick, just like a normal kick, and stop him, and Braun would fall back. Sammy would hit a Helluva Kick. 1, 2, 3, clean pin on Braun Breaker. Sammy retains. Oh, man. Nah, drop. I'm gonna be negative. I'm gonna be negative as hell on this one. Are you kidding me? Like no, I'm a rant. What? What are we doing? You are building Braun Breaker up to be this like kind of next generation Brock Lesnar-esque guy. Like he's much more. I don't know. I think he has much more of a character at this point than Brock did. He doesn't need a Heyman right now or anybody else speaking for him. But he's being built as this I'll destroy everybody. The entire storyline so far is that he loses, but he loses because other people get involved. He can never finish his own matches. They're always DQs, and he's pissed and he wants to prove. And then you just have him. You have this monster get one shot Haluva kicked, 1, 2, 3 clean pin in his first title match on the main roster. What are you doing here?
Yeah. I'm going to drop it as well. Pretty much everything you said. We thought Sammy was going to retain because of a DQ.
Yeah.
And I guess that would have made more sense for the story, at least to me. Because now with Braun, it's like, well, you had a chance to finish your match and you lost.
Well, and hopefully he shouldn't get a rematch right away because the entire narrative around the WWE right now, they've been very consistent with the guys who lose their championship matches have to quote unquote get to the back of the line. So there's no like, and I know we're gonna find our way into another Sammy Braun match, but realistically, with the way WWE storylines have been going, he shouldn't get a match. Like he should go back to the back of the line. Like that's everybody else is doing it.
Yeah. And I don't know who's the next one up. Maybe Sheamus. I like
Sheamus. But...
Yeah, I mean, it's a real chance to put somebody over that is young, like you said. And I know before you were like, maybe WWE doesn't think he's ready. Like I know you mentioned that maybe in the comments before. But it's just like, I don't know why they're afraid to pull the trigger. I also see a growing fatigue, not just with us, but just online, of Sami Zayn. I don't get it.
Yeah.
The Haluva kick is the most devastating move
in all of professional wrestling
in the history.
You and I before the podcast were talking about it. Like, is there a more protected finishing move at the moment than the Haluva kick? I can't think of one. It takes Cody Rhodes 2 or 3 crossroads to finish off anybody. You know, RKO hasn't put anybody out in forever. You know, John Cena hasn't won a singles match in 5 years. The FU isn't protective anymore. I mean, what are we doing?
I mean, even Seth Rollins, stomp
Yeah.
later on, the supposed kick out, not kick out, we'll get to later. But like that, I mean, Claymores, like,
yeah,
you literally run down the list and it's like, I don't understand why the Haluva kick is so protected.
I understand the sentiment of people wanting finishing moves to be protected. I get that. And I wish they were more protective in general. Like, in general, I wish that finishing moves were not kicked out as much.
Right.
But in WWE right now, everybody kicks out of every finishing move, at least on the first one, right? They're not, I hate to say, they're not AEW levels of you know, it takes 5 RKOs to put somebody down, but in the context of WWE right now, the Haluva kick is literally the most devastating move, and that makes no sense, man. It makes no sense. I don't want to hear it. Like, you can like Sami Zayn, it still doesn't make any sense. No. And the camera angles never do his Haluva kick any justice either.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, and I don't know.
It doesn't look devastating.
Going back to Mania, I was not a fan of Sami Zayn taking the belt off of Gunther.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, well, let's give him benefit of the doubt. Let's fast forward. And it's now July. His matches have been just like Some people I see say that he puts on the best matches on the card. I can't get into those matches.
I have seen people call him the best Intercontinental Champion in the last decade.
Oh, that's just wrong.
If you have that opinion, that's fine. Good for you.
No, that is wrong.
I disagree strongly.
So, but I mean, yeah, he puts on good matches. There's never a match, though, that I'm like, man, I'm blown away. Like, the matches are consistently good. I won't say they never top out a 4 or 5 star match. They never bottom out to like a 2-star match.
Yeah.
They're always good.
But right now, since Mania, it's the same narrative every match.
Mm-hmm.
It is the exact same narrative for every single Sami Zayn match. Mm-hmm. It's Sami is outmatched physically, gets beat up a bunch, but you can't keep Sami Zayn down. One Haluva kick, win.
Yeah, and then
like he's not Super Cena. Like that was
Super Sammy.
That was annoying during the Super Cena era. But if you look at Cena, you're like, you know what? I can see it. If you look at Sammy, no, and it's like well, and people are gonna rebuttal, and be like, well, that's the entire point, right? Sammy never looks the part, but he is the part. He's got dog in him. That's what they say. I don't care. It's dumb. I don't like it. I don't like it. I'm negative about it.
And even so, you say it's the same narrative, it's the same character stuff. So then on Raw, he's going to come out, I am still your Intercontinental Champion.
Yeah,
that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, and he doesn't have his hat anymore. If he had his hat, it'd be a little bit better. I like his old hat, but
yeah, I like Sammy with the hat and the trimmed beard.
yeah.
I like that Sammy. I mean, he's okay. I guess.
I'm dropping the hell out of that. I really don't like it because now Braun stock just got. I mean, it feels like his legs got taken out from him on this one because it's like, oh, you can't. You're this big baddie that can't beat Sami Zayn. Like,
yeah. Well, and now you look at SummerSlam, so it's like, what does Sami Zayn do at SummerSlam? Obviously, he's gonna have a match, but
it's gonna be Braun.
But you just think they just run it
yeah,
back?
It's
again?
gonna be Braun again, and like I said, it's gonna make no sense because everybody else, Chad Gable just lost his match for the IC title. Walked into Adam Pearce's office, and he was like, "You got to go to the back of the line." So why would he not do the same thing here? Is it or we're just gonna get Braun coming out and destroying him, right? And then it's gonna force his hand.
And people are gonna say like, "Oh, well, he had 5 Intercontinental Gable. He had 5
Intercontinental."
That's gonna be the rebuttal, which is fair, but I don't understand why you would just have him lose clean here.
Clean is my problem.
Just to have him turn around at SummerSlam and beat Sammy potentially.
I want people
that doesn't make sense.
I want people to understand that. My problem isn't that Sammy won. My problem is that Sammy won with one Helluva Kick, 1, 2, 3, completely clean, without any BSery. You know, that to me, that really cuts Braun Breaker. So
BSery or multiple Helluva Kicks.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah. How is Braun? Am I supposed to believe Braun's strong? Like Cody Rhodes has to crossroads people multiple times because these are supposed badass, guys who like they're tough. They're like that like Roman Reigns took 3 and it's believable. It's like that's the tribal chief. And they're trying to build up Braun and to not be a Roman Reigns, but to be a imposing threat, and he just takes one? Like one.
Before we move on, let me just say that Sami Zayn Helluva kicked Braun Breaker once and beat him. He also Helluva kicked Otis once and beat him. So you think about that, like, yes, he got more offense in on Braun and did more damage, but now, in my head, Otis and Braun Breaker, same level, basically.
Oh, dear God. Let's move on to an even more sad part of the night, but for different reasons. Trish Stratus comes out. That's a hometown hero right there.
Yes.
I did have... I love Trish. I love Trish. She's looking a lot more like Dolly Parton nowadays, but I love Trish. She's a host of Money in the Bank, but this is the only thing she really did tonight, which is fine. I don't. The hosting thing has never really gone well for WWE. So.
Well, and it didn't really make any sense when they announced it.
2 days before,
Friday or Saturday, and it was like,
I think it was literally Thursday.
Like, okay, cool.
But always good to see her, and her hometown fans loved her. But she mentioned how she's had a bunch of historic things happen in this arena, which obviously she has, and she goes, "Well, one of the most historic things I did in this arena was tag team. I was a mystery partner in a tag team for a 16-time world champion." And we're all like, "What?" Let me introduce to you John Cena. And, I am, I got the shirt. John Cena's my dude. Always has been. I was a John Cena kid, my first WrestleMania that I ever watched live was WrestleMania 21, where he won his first title against JBL. Since that day. But he comes out and the first thing he does, he shows off his towel. And his towel says, "The last time is now."
Uh-huh.
And everybody's eyes just, what?
Yeah.
Wait, what? Huh?
Yeah.
And he said it because he always says something to the camera. He goes, "Last time is now, everybody." And he runs to the ring and he gets a mic and he said, gives Toronto their flowers, gives Toronto their leaves, their maple leaves. And he takes the mic and he goes, "But I'm here to officially announce my retirement from the WWE." Everybody is like, the whole arena is, there's no more Cena sucks chance in that arena. Everybody is doing the Kane and Daniel Bryan nose and screaming. And he's like, "I'm feeling a mixed reaction here from the crowd today." And
I don't know what mixed reaction it would have been. There was no mixed reaction.
There was none. Everybody was like, hell no. Scary moment until he kind of clarifies what he was meaning. Because that's who he started with. He just goes, "I'm here to announce my retirement." And everybody was like, huh? And he goes, "Why here? Why now?" And then he goes on to explain that he's had so many great moments here. And Canada always shows up. They're always loud. But he says, he goes on to say, Raw is going to Netflix in January. "I've never been on Raw and Netflix, and I want to be a part of that." And he goes, but I don't have much left in the tank. So next year's Royal Rumble will be my last Royal Rumble. Next year's Elimination Chamber will be my last Elimination Chamber. And I'm here to say WrestleMania 2025 in Las Vegas will be my last WrestleMania. The whole crowd goes wild. And he goes on to say that he's going to do a post press conference for Money in the Bank where he clarifies all of that. And I summed it up because I watched it. And he clarifies that WrestleMania will not be his last match. So in April, John Cena is not done. He clarifies that he has, at the moment, between 30 and 40 dates that span from January to December 2025, and that will be his farewell tour. So that last match, whenever it is in December, will be his last match. But these events all the way up will be his last of each one. So but that's it. John Cena is retiring in 2025, and I couldn't be more sad, man. I really couldn't. Like, that's my hero, or one of them.
Yeah, I mean it hits different, man.
I mean, I'm gonna pop it because, you know, I love Cena. You gotta pop it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna pop it as well for him to go out and to say, "Hey, I'm gonna give you guys one last ride, give you guys one last year." And Wade Barrett mentioned it at the press conference, post conference, whatever you want to call it. That typically you get somebody that comes back maybe February and is like, "I want one more Mania match," and you get 6 weeks, 7 weeks, whatever. I respect John for being like, all right, well, we're going to tour. We're going to do one full year as long as, no injuries happen. Let's knock on some wood. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But to have to say goodbye to John that's going to be hard.
Oh, dude.
I mean, he's a pillar of WWE history. He's the greatest of all time to some people. He inspired a whole generation.
He lifted the company in one of its most dire times when stars were leaving and things were getting real nice and dry in the WWE, and he was a Hulk Hogan out of the dust basically for them, and he rose from nothing. Terrible gimmick. He was almost fired. Everybody knows John Cena's history there, but I mean, can't say enough things about him. Looking forward to every single match, and I agree with you that this is great because in wrestling, you don't really ever flat out get the retirement label slapped onto something. Like Trish mentioned in her intro here that she had a retirement match here. She's had 2 stints since then. The Rock has had retirements, and Stone Cold had a retirement, but then came out for the Kevin Owens stuff. Like, wrestlers have always done this retirement thing, but they've never slapped the actual label on it, and they kind of just like, it's assumed. And they walk away, and then you never really know if they come back or not, and they might end up doing it. This is so great because now we know. Like, Cena is just flat out like, guys, you have one more year with me. Enjoy it. Be there. I'm going to give my all, but this will be it. And now it gives people a chance to definitively see their guy for the last time without having to get, like, we were debating on going to Mania. This makes it rise way higher chance because we know for a fact now. We were talking a few months ago in our WrestleMania, way too early WrestleMania 41 predictions that this might be the John Cena retirement match, and that would be a reason to go. Now we know this is it for him. No more competition there. And Cena doing this gives families all around the world, kids, like, he's coming to town. This is going to be it. So if you want to see John one more time, this is it. Go.
Yeah, and he kind of mentioned that a little bit in one of the answers he gave after the show, where retirement angles. Sometimes people say, I'm going to retire, and they get a title match like AJ Styles, or sometimes they say they retire and then they bluff and they come back out. Like you said, Trish, Rock, Austin, Ric Flair. I mean, the list goes on.
Hell, Shawn Michaels had a match in Saudi.
And Hogan. And I mean, literally the list goes on and on. So to hear him be like, this is it, I'm going to be done. I am intrigued, I guess, well, not only to see like the in-ring, how they build those stories up for a year, what happens, because he mentioned it's only a year. So the list it's going to be interesting to see how they pick and choose who.
Yeah.
What storylines.
Yeah.
And then he also said he's going to be in a suit and tie and somehow, some way in the capacity, like helping WWE out somehow.
Yeah.
Probably just like an ambassador or something.
Yeah.
But that's going to be interesting to see. I'm going to like that as well.
Well, he basically said that even post 2025, his in-ring competition will be done, but he will be a part of the WWE family forever. And he'll be hands-on with it. Like, he'll be helping talent and around the creative seat, I'm guessing. But, my first thought when he retired and he said Rumble, Chamber, all this stuff, I was like, well, we're booking Rock Roman, right? that seems to be the play for night 2, big time match. Dude, do you just go ahead and you give Cena the Rumble and you have him go for Cody, and Cody can win it, but you book it face versus face, two of the best faces in the last 20 years going up against each other for the title. It'll be Cena's last shot at breaking the record. And then you have Cody go over and nobody would be angry, right? Like,
I mean, that might be the way they do it, honestly. I don't know how they do it, but you give me a babyface versus babyface, like, hey, this is my last Mania, whether I win or lose.
Yeah.
I want this, and Cody can kind of take over that ultimate babyface from Cena, like the passing of the torch thing. But
because then you also get the championship chase out of the way early, because Mania will be done by April, and then you have the rest of you have 8 more months of Cena to do whatever creative rubbing that you want to do for him.
Yeah, because at that point he doesn't need to be anywhere
could,
around it, which is fine.
And he could come out on the Raw after Mania and be like, "That was it. That was my last that was my last chase at a title. Where do I go from now?" And he kind of just does like a whole, if you want some, come get some. I got 8 months. Who wants it? And then he's just rubbing guys. Like,
or
pause.
No Diddy. So I mean, I've already seen people, and I know John says he doesn't want it.
Oh no.
I know. I mean, I'm just saying, I see people online saying, I just give him one more. And I know John doesn't want it. And I know John's saying, no. But I mean, if he does it, am I going to be mad? No.
Cena's going to see that German man take the belt from Damian Priest, and USA Super Cena's going to be like, oh, I got to go get that belt off that German guy. And he's going to come out there and start beating the shit out of Gunther.
That's going to, we talk all the time about like Hulk Hogan or Super Sammy and Super, all this stuff. John wants the belt, and we give it to him, and John loses the belt pretty much right after that. I'm okay with it. I don't care.
Here's the thing: the Super Cena shit is gone. He hasn't won a singles match in 6 years, guys. Like he has done the job. He's tried to rub guys, whether or not they use it, whether or not I don't know why.
He's got to stop. You got to stop.
It's a wrestling term. He's tried to put guys over, and it hasn't really worked because of whatever reasons. Whether it is like the two ones that stand out, obviously, are Solo and Theory, and Solo now is doing, but none of this comes from the Cena stuff, right? Like,
right. It comes from all the Roman stuff.
I mean, they didn't. Whether it's them as talents or creatively them just thinking a win propels them, it just hasn't worked out. Mm-hmm. It's been 6 years. Give this man something to me. I'm down. Give him a title.
Or I've seen some people online talk about, what about maybe an Intercontinental?
Yeah.
I mean, never had that belt, and it feels kind of like a shame or a sham, or they need to, it feels weird for Cena not to be a Grand Slam champion.
So that's what I think you do. You do, if Rock and Roman is 100% for Mania, then I know Rumble is supposed to be used for young talent to win, and a lot of people are thinking like Gunther might do it or something like that. But if Rock and Roman are booked for WrestleMania, then just give Royal Rumble to John Cena and have his road to Mania be about the 17 champion. And then when he loses, he can step back and be like, okay, what else can I do here? And what else can I accomplish? There you go. You got yourself an ice. What's your only thing that you haven't done? I haven't been a Grand Slam champion. And then you can do an IC title reign and just have him turn around and do an open challenge whenever he's on. And that would be great. I mean, the open challenge boosted guys like Kevin Owens, Cesaro. Like, the open challenge is one of the best things ever. So
I really do enjoy the open challenge. Yeah. And at that point, I mean, Sami Zayn's still going to have the IC title.
Yeah.
He's never going to lose it.
Never.
So, I mean, maybe he just goes over and beats John Cena.
He might retire John Cena with one haluva kick. With that, let's move.
Kick the jorts right off of him.
In Canada. We'll do it in Canada again. Why not? Oh, Lord. We'll move on. I could talk about Cena all day, though. Seth Rollins versus Damian Priest, World Heavyweight Championship / gentleman's bet on the line here. The bet is if Seth Rollins loses, he cannot fight for the title again against Damian while he has the title. And then if Damian loses, he's got to leave the Judgment Day. But throughout the entire week, Drew McIntyre has been saying that his entire goal is, I'm going to win the Money in the Bank, and then I am going to cash it in that same night and win the championship.
Yeah.
And as we already went over, that man did the first part. He has it.
Yeah, he done did it.
And that became an ongoing story in the match, actually. So both guys would be hitting moves throughout the match, and they would immediately turn their head and look at the set.
I really like that.
They like the stage.
Very subtle.
And
but,
it got
I
to
like
the
that.
point where Rollins looked like it was there consciously with him, but he was okay. Damien was almost more worried about the cash in than Rollins, and that kind of played into the story a little bit because Rollins got a shit ton of offense off here. If anything, this match was all about Rollins is healthy and Damien is up for the challenge of big time matches like this. But anyway, throughout the entire match, back and forth situations throughout. Rollins would hit top rope. He would do this cool thing where he would hit top rope swan tom, roll off the swan tom into a springboard moonsault onto Damien. And the entire time, Corey Graves is kind of pointing out how Rollins is back, but he's tweaked his methods. Like he's doing the same moves, but he's doing them a little bit differently now. Like he's a kind of a refreshed Rollins. He's got sort of a more refined moveset now. And it worked throughout the match. It was kind of cool. He would like go to do, his rolling elbow, but he would stop himself and then he'd kick the knee. So he was changing up his game, his tactics.
And it's kind of nice to see that Rollins wasn't gone for too long, but it's always cool to see like a superstar go away and kind of add something new a little bit while they're gone.
There's a cool spot where Seth would do his famous patented buckle bomb to Damian Priest, which is impressive as hell because Damian Priest is a big boy.
Big man.
But Damian would balance off the rope, basically come back and do a power bomb to Rollins. And right when he did that, he'd get up and he'd square up toward the set. Nothing? Okay. We would get a back and forth where both guys were, it was like the battle of the wills between them in the ring. They would do some like kicks and stuff, but it would end up with Rollins kind of doing like a sling blade, but landing his feet, and Damien would be bent over, and Rollins would bounce off the rope, hit a stomp, 1, 2, ooh, kicked out of a stomp. Stomp, not as good as a haluva kick. Rollins would then he would beg Damian Priest to get up. He'd be like, stand up and fight me. Are you a man? Are you a man? Damian Priest would get up and immediately hit a razor's edge. 1, 2, ooh, razor's edge. Worse than a haluva kick.
We should have put that on our top 5 finishers of all time.
Yeah,
that's haluva kick should be number 1. Yeah.
Number 3, we got the haluva kick.
Number 2, haluva kick. Number 1, haluva kick in Canada.
The end of this match got funky for a lot of reasons. So they would be at the top rope, fighting at the top rope, and Seth Rollins would hit his superplex that he rolls up into a Falcon Arrow. So he hits the superplex, he rolls up, goes for the Falcon Arrow. Damian Priest knees him. Damian Priest goes for a Falcon Arrow himself. Seth Rollins knees him. Seth Rollins would then hit the Falcon Arrow.
I like that.
1, 2, something was supposed to happen. Nothing happened. There was no kick out. Ref pulls his hand because obviously if you count 3, the match is done.
Yeah, I mean, Damian's clearly supposed to kick out. But it also, like, when I saw it live, like, he's supposed to kick out, obviously.
Yeah.
But when his arm is out there, you can see him like trying to like grab his hand, like move his hand.
Yeah.
And it looked like he was maybe
hurt?
he got like a stinger.
Oh.
Like that. Well, at least that's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah,
because it looked like he was like
I get what you're
trying to, but he's like, I can't.
Either way, it looked
not good.
It looked bad.
Not good.
This was a 3 count that was not called a 3 count because obviously the ref can't end the match and there was more stuff that needed to happen. But
props to the ref though.
Yeah,
because I mean, I get he like, okay, it looks bad. He's supposed to count to 3, but like we've seen it before where it's just like 1, 2. Ref doesn't pull it.
Yeah,
and the ref counts 3, and then you're like, oh, well, that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah,
so I mean, I guess props to the ref there.
Yeah, I mean, what sucked was though he did the pull where he goes down and pulls his hand into his stomach, that type of pull, and that made it look even like it was bad. It was bad. It was a bad botch from whoever's fault it was. I'm guessing Damien's, but hopefully the stinger thing's true and that he just couldn't.
And that's just me guessing.
Yeah,
I haven't heard nothing, but that's just me guessing.
There was no kick out. Crowd is kind of going wild at this point. A lot of people, and the commentary is like that looked like a 3, because they're trying to be more realistic in this day and age, and they're calling out botches for what they are now. Like they kind of just go, well, that looked like you didn't get enough of it, or they try to cover it up. But this one, Corey Graves and Michael Cole were both kind of like, that looked like a 3 to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, we don't have much time to think about it because Drew McIntyre's music hits. He comes out, walks in the ring, hands it to the ref. He's cashing in. He's doing what he said. He's doing what everybody predicted that he was gonna do. Son of a bitch. He goes for the Claymore. Rollins actually would reverse it though with a kick, but Drew would then reverse Rollins' second move and throw him back into the corner. He'd back up. He'd go for the to wind up the Claymore again, but Damian Priest would come in and clothesline him.
Mm-hmm.
Bunch of stuff happened here. After he clotheslined him, Damian Priest would try to get him up to do a move, but Drew would push him and Claymore Damian. But then the crowd's not looking at the ring; they're looking somewhere else. What does that mean? It's CM Punk. CM Punk's there. CM Punk's there. Crowd, big pop, big pop. He's here to beat the holy hell out of Drew,
and he does.
He brought a chair. He brought a chair to the party. He rolls Drew out of the ring. He starts beating the hell out of him with the chair. They go back towards again, like by the announce table where like the ring bell used to be, where Samantha Irving sits and everything, and CM Punk is just swinging the chair at his back. Chair's bending. He's getting good shots off here.
Mm-hmm.
He grabs a camera cord, chokes the hell out of him with it.
Yeah.
Good stuff. He ends up looking around. And he looks at the belt. He sees the belt, so he picks the belt up. CM Punk, that is, hits Drew over the head with that. Drew's now. I don't really know. Like Seth Rollins. He took a Claymore, I guess, but he's outside the ring and kind of just done at this point.
Yeah, he's on like the far side.
Yeah, he's on the far side of the ring, laying down. But Damian Priest takes advantage of this moment. He puts Drew McIntyre into the south of heaven. 1, 2, 3, my boy. Damian Priest remains world heavyweight champion, but this means a failed night one cash in. This means CM Punk also screwed Seth Rollins because Seth Rollins can now no longer challenge for the championship while Damian has it. I'm going to pop the overall match and all the stuff that happened, but I am going to drop the predictableness of all of this. And I'm going to drop the idea of night one cash-ins with guys that don't need it. Drew McIntyre's a made man. Guys like Mello, guys like Jay, especially Jay, like could have done so much more with this than a failed cash in 2 hours later, an hour later.
Yeah. Also, at the end, you have Priest kind of pissed off because it's always been told to Priest that like he can't kind of do anything on his own, and he's been wanting to do things on his own. But that's to help at Judgment Day. But then he gets to help a Punk.
I ain't gonna lie, I didn't look at it that way. I thought he was pissed just because of like. Priest had a rough night.
Yeah, he had a rough night. I guess maybe I read too much into it, but he always, I took it as he told Judgment Day, I don't want help. I don't want help. I don't want help. Judgment Day stayed away, but he got help from Punk.
Yeah.
So he's like,
that's probably right.
I can do this on my own.
Yeah.
I need to not get help.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pop it because it does progress like the Punk Drew storyline, but I am going to drop the cash in, I guess. To me, Drew winning the Money in the Bank, people were like, oh, well, it's the only one storyline wise that makes sense, blah, 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 blah. My thing is with the Money in the Bank, you have a whole year.
Yeah.
So you could do it at any time.
Yep.
I've also seen people push back and say, well, you still have the women's one, so you still have the randomness of a cash in. I get that as well. But for the men, I just felt like the Money in the Bank is even if some people look at it as like a lazy booking type thing, you can at least try to build a star. You can kind of bring somebody up. Drew didn't really need the Money in the Bank. And if Punk was going to screw him over, I mean, I guess I get it. Oh, well, you screwed me over for the world title. Well, he could have just screwed him over in the Money in the Bank.
Yep.
And you could say, oh, well, it's different because one's a chance and one's the real thing. But like what he did, he literally could have done the same thing in the Money in the Bank.
Yeah, and I get that it now adds the layer of, well, now the Seth Rollins is back to being pissed at Punk, so we're bringing that more into it again. But this Drew CM Punk thing isn't over. Like now we can officially just focus on the Drew CM Punk stuff. So why is Seth Rollins now going to be pissed and getting involved in this in some way? Like I don't need a triple threat match between the three of them.
No, but obviously he doesn't have. Well, I mean, I guess Rollins doesn't really have anything to do now. I mean, you look at it that way. I don't know what he's going to do at SummerSlam now. But, I wore this shirt, Rollins and McIntyre, specifically because of that. And I was like, oh, well, they're all pissed at Punk, Obviously, I think Punk's going to end up, I guess, beating Drew, and then him and Rollins are going to go off. But it just seems weird because you're like, oh, well, now you bring Rollins into it. You give Rollins something to do. He can be pissed at Punk. Well, like, we didn't really need that either.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, that rivalry was always going to heat up anyway, like, just because there's real life animosity there.
Yeah.
And as for a whole, like, I guess just when the men's Money in the Bank went first,
Yep.
you're like, Drew's winning and Drew's going to cash in.
Knew it.
And I would have liked to see, I know Punk talked about AJ Lee. I would have liked to see AJ Lee screw him over. Something a little bit different because, I mean, how many times is Punk going to screw Drew over?
This needs to be the last screw job from either of them. Like the next time that we see the two together, that isn't just promo back and forth or to progress the story in like a raw way. Needs to be a fight. I can't do. I'm done with the screw jobs. Like that ends up just becoming lazy. At this point, they're doing enough in-ring action. Give me something. Give me a match.
Yeah, and I assume it probably will be the last one because you can book it for SummerSlam.
Yeah.
But it's like I said before Money in the Bank that it was like, well, I think Punk's gonna maybe cost Drew if Drew does win it, and then you're like, well, how many times can you keep doing it?
Yeah.
You know, how many times can we keep going over the same stuff? So all in all, I mean, they did the job. They progressed the storyline, but it's like I just wish there was maybe a little bit something different.
Yeah.
A little bit variety there.
Yeah. I mean, I think a great match between Seth Rollins and Damian. My personal thought with all this is I would have liked to see a progression in the Judgment Day storyline for this match than I would have CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. Like I would have much rather Drew getting screwed at the Money in the Bank because that ends in the same match. CM Punk Drew. You give Jey Uso or whoever else you want, but most likely Jey Uso the Money in the Bank. That gives him now something to do for the future. And then if Damian Priest wins the title via some Judgment Day BS3 or Judgment Day screws him out of the belt, that just progresses that much more. Seth Rollins is still doing nothing, but he's still doing nothing. I mean, I don't want him to be a part of the triple threat with them. So to me, I would have just been way more invested in this if it would have been Judgment Day stuff because I've seen this. Like we've just said, I've seen this. I've seen the screw jobs. I've seen it. And when it's around the thing is, sorry to ramble, but the thing is, the world heavyweight title is involved with this now. Like Drew and CM Punk, neither of them have that belt, yet their effery mess with the whole world title scene, which is just weird to me. I don't like that. Like when two guys who don't have the belt are judging what happens with the belt. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it takes away from, I mean, the match itself. Like,
yeah.
I'm more focused on, like, now with things that happen, I'm more focused on Punk, Drew, Seth than I am, like, Damian.
Yeah.
And Damian versus Gunther at SummerSlam feels kind of like an afterthought. I mean, I know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I know who I'm going to pick to win that match, but it's like, well, dang. So, yeah, to see more Judgment Day stuff, I would have liked that.
Yeah.
In terms of the Money in the Bank, you could have even given it to, like, Carmelo, a young guy. Like, Drew didn't need it. I get you want to progress the storyline, but it's also like you sacrifice the briefcase in a year of potentially building somebody up or having storylines for a year.
Yeah.
For a storyline for a one night cash in that is just going to lead to SummerSlam.
Yeah.
It's like anywhere from like a month to like a 2 month progression that and a storyline that did not need it.
Correct. Wasn't a fan of that. Let's move on to probably the best match of the night. Definitely the best match of the night by far. Women's Money in the Bank. Naomi, Chelsea Green, Tiffany Stratton, Io Sky, Zoe Stark, Lyra Valkyria. They came out here and they said, you know what? Let's just put on a friggin' banger. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Canada loves their Chelsea Green, by the way. We all love our Chelsea
Canada's
Green.
own.
Canada's own. She's like a Canada goose. Chelsea Green, if I can talk. Anyway, match starts, and the funny thing happens with Chelsea Green. Match starts, they're all squaring off. Every single person leaves the ring except for Chelsea. And it said, while she's standing in that ring alone, Michael Cole says, you know what she told us at the press conference the other day? She's scared of heights.
Mm-hmm. Which I understand because I'm afraid of heights as well.
And that became the through line of the match. Chelsea Green being scared of going up that ladder. And it started right away because when everybody got out of the ring, they went for the ladders, but most of them ended up fighting each other. But a couple of the ladders started to get brought in, and Chelsea was like, you know what? They're all fighting. There's a ladder. I'll pick it up, and I'll go for it. She sets up the ladder, and then she looks up there, and she's like, No, not yet. I don't want to climb that. That's high up there.
Yeah, I think she goes one step up the ladder.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, yep, I get it.
No, she's like, no. Let's have a wrestling match first. I'm good at that part. But she takes the ladder and starts trying to hit people with it. Ends up Io getting the advantage of her though. But again, it's one of those matches where I have a shit ton of notes because there was just a spot fest and these women put on for their city. I do have here that the women were working stiff, and because of that, they were working stiff, and you could obviously tell that they were just excited to do all these spots. And because of that, they were like slightly off on most of their spots, which I'm not saying is like a botch, but when they're slightly off on these big ladder spots, they look brutal. So most of these spots looked brutal because they were just throwing each other around and heads were hitting ladders and just, it was tough.
Yeah, I know you're gonna go into like the play-by-play a little bit, but immediately right off the bat, I can think of 2 Zoe Stark spots.
Yeah,
and I thought to myself, oh God, they're gonna be so like early in the match. I thought, oh God, they're so excited.
Yeah,
they're so ready to go. This is going to be bad.
Yeah.
Because it was so early that you could tell how amped up they were. And I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
I hope that doesn't ruin it.
Yeah. They were trying to kill each other.
Which was awesome. I mean, it was great.
Basically everything they did this match involved ladders.
Mm-hmm.
So like early on, Io would hit like a meteorite the meteorite like knee drop kick into Tiffany, who was setting up against a ladder.
Which her head looked like it smacked the ladder. It looked like it hurt.
The same thing as the men's Money in the Bank, and normally happens at Money in the Bank. Everybody got their own spots here, and every single one of them shined. But Lyra would she would suplex Io into the ladder, and they both just land completely flush back sides of the ladder. I was like, ow. But
yeah, I think Lyra got more of it than
Yeah,
Io. Maybe
yeah.
like she pretty much throws a backdrop on herself on the ladder.
She tried to pick Io right up afterward and do like a rope running DDT, which kind of got botched, but who cares? But the funny part was with Lyra, I wouldn't call it a botch. It was just funny. That woman did not know how to open a ladder. She did not know how to set the ladder up. It was not going. And Michael Cole and Corey Graves, being the professionals they are, they're like, she'd never been in a ladder match. You put me in that match, I wouldn't know how to open the ladder. And Michael Cole's like, yeah, I wouldn't know what to do with a ladder. I haven't used a ladder in years. I was like, I'm going to fall on the blade for her.
It's nice.
Mad respect.
It's just nice when they do that.
Yeah, it really
like you said, they want to put it as real as they can, or if they can make a little joke out of it, just cover it up. It's nice.
Naomi got a couple good spots here. Naomi looks real good. They had a spot where there were 2 ladders in the middle of the ring, and she had a foot on each, and they slowly pushed the ladders away from her, and she was like in the full splits between 2 ladders, and then Zoe came over, and she punched Zoe, and did she springboarded. Somehow she was doing the splits, and somehow got enough leverage to springboard off the 2 ladders and do like a DDT on it. Good stuff there. She put Zoe Stark onto another ladder and then did her like split leg drop onto it. Just Naomi was putting on. We've been critical of her lately, but she had a good match here. Tiffany Stratton would shove a ladder into Io and trap Io into the corner with a ladder, and then she would run up the ladder and do a swanton off the top rope. To everybody else, Tiffy was looking phenomenal. It was Tiffy time. Throughout the match, Chelsea would find herself next to or sort of on a ladder, and there was even a spot where they had the ladder lined up where there was one set up normally in the middle of the ring, but they had put a second ladder on one of the rungs and in between the ropes so you could stand on it. And Chelsea got up there and she was just like, whoa, I don't know what to do here. And Io was with her, and she ended up doing like a weird, it was kind of like a face buster. I don't know.
I'm prettier, yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
And it didn't look the best, but Corey Graves was like, that just looks brutal. And I was like, see, again, that's nice. Because she kind of like jumps, and when she jumps, she also just like basically lands on her butt on the ladder.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, well, that also probably hurt.
Yeah, it looked like it hurt her a lot more, which props to her. But there was a moment where Tiffy and Naomi are going at it, and they spill the outside of the ring, and Chelsea Green's out there. And Naomi pulls out 2 tables, and they just kind of lay there. She doesn't set them up. But Chelsea Green looks at Tiffany, and she's like, you know what? It is Tiffy time. Like, Chelsea starts to get in her mind. She's like, it is Tiffy time. I'm going to help you, Tiffy time. That's what she keeps saying that. And they set up the tables on the outside of the ring side by side, and you're like, okay. Okay, sometime today.
Yeah.
And they end up beating up Naomi, but going in the ring. And but we get down to the end of the match here. So starts Lyra just kind of is out of this. I don't know what happened to her. She's kind of out of it at this point. But it's Io Sky and Zoe Stark at the top of the ladder. So they have same sort of setup where there's main ladder in the ring.
Lyra took that like Zoe Stark like power bomb onto the ladder.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Which also just looked brutal.
I mean, literally every spot in this match involved the ladder. It was sick.
It looked like it hurt.
It was sick, but huge spot here. Io is on top with she's on the far side, and then there's Zoe Stark, and then there's a ladder on its side in between the rope and the rung, just like we just said. And Io rolls over Zoe and power bombs her onto ladder, but she like really rolls too far almost, and Zoe lands brutally on this ladder, and the whole arena explodes. Like everybody there is like that woman is dead.
Yeah. Well, and Io messes herself up because she's like on the mat doing a backbend, like screaming.
Yeah, Io looks like she's broken.
Yeah.
She's doing a great job selling it. Anyway, Chelsea Green has found the confidence. She is like, I'm going to win this. At this point, there's now just two ladders. They are side by side in the ring, both in positions that could get the briefcase. And Chelsea climbs up one, and camera zooms in. Crowd's going nuts. At home, we're thinking, oh, Chelsea Green might have won this thing. Mm-hmm. But then you see her blonde hair pops up on the screen. It's Tiffy. And Chelsea just sits there, and they had a little bit of an agreement earlier in the match, but not anymore. And Tiffy just pushes the ladder, and what goes up must come down. Chelsea Green falls off the ladder to the outside of the ring through the two tables that they previously set up. There's some pictures online. She was high up there, man. Really good stuff. But Tiffany reaches up. She gets that briefcase. Tiffany Stratton wins the Money in the Bank. This was match of the night. This will be the future standard for what women's Money in the Bank matches hope to be. It was that good. Phenomenal. Pops all the way around.
Yeah, I'm going to pop it as well. Like I said, early in the match, I got a little nervous. You look at the ladder, and like you said, they were kind of throwing caution to the wind. Zoe Stark throws like almost like a Samoan drop to Valkyria, but Valkyria doesn't hit like her back. Like she just hits her arm on the ladder. Yeah. And it's like, oh, okay.
So many instances.
And then Zoe Stark goes for that. I don't know what it is, but it's like that, almost like that RVD catapult flippy swanton. But then she smacks her head on the ladder.
Yeah. Nice flat out nails her head.
Just bam.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I think she destroyed her own head. And it's like, yeah.
Yeah. None of these women are going to walk straight tomorrow.
No, it seemed terrible. Great match. Like you said, the standard. Tiffany's the most over. Even though Chelsea was getting a great hometown, crowd rooting for her, it makes the most sense with Tiffy. Chelsea Green, for somebody being afraid of, heights, as I am as well, she climbs that ladder, and obviously, she's going through those tables. But, like, from what I remember, the way the tables were set up, like, the ladder's here, and the tables are kind of off to the side. So, like, when she goes to, like, push her a little bit, I'm like, oh, my God, how is she gonna go through those tables? She hits it perfectly.
Oh, yeah. The spot was done to a T. They
just absolute perfection.
Nailed it. And like I said, there's photos online. I'll probably put one in here, but there's of her in the air, and she's like curled up like this as she's falling through the sky, and she is like literally 15 feet up in the air. It's so good.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Tiffany, correct answer. Mm-hmm. As I say sometimes, the right answer is the right answer, and this was right.
Yeah, and I mean, as much as we talked about Chelsea Green being a great pick, or maybe or maybe like you fantasy book, Io Sky wins, Dakota Kai takes the briefcase, all that stuff. Tiffany is the most legitimate. I mean, you could say Io, but Io won last year, so the most like legitimate newcomer, the one that deserves it the most, the one that's going to, she's the future for as long as she wants to be here.
I mean, so is Chelsea, but yes, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, and Tiffany's better like in the ring,
at the moment. Yeah,
she's just better.
She's an athlete through and through.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And then you have the Nia story kind of interwoven with Tiffany as well. So smart choice, right choice. Match of the night, and I couldn't be happier for it. I mean, it was great.
Yeah, one thing that I want to point out very quickly that happened afterward, but we go backstage and Tiffany Stratton's back there with Trish Stratus, and Trish basically says, "I'm Dolly Parton." I mean, no, she says, "Don't get a hot head from this. You want it, but it's all about how you cash in. That will separate the difference between you being just a flash in the pan or a Hall of Famer like me. And Tiffy's like, Trish, you're just mad that Trishy time is done and Tiffy time has just begun. And then she walks away. So I'm thinking maybe we get a Tiffy versus Trish at SummerSlam, huh?
I mean, it's kind of how they like made it seem.
Yeah.
I mean, it also would seem random just to bring Trish back. I know she's like the hometown girl in Money in the Bank, but you don't just put that segment out there if there's not going to be something.
Right.
So
Trish is a professional. That means it's something, right? Like she's not just doing that for no reason.
Yeah. So it's going to be something, and good for her. I mean, Tiffany's going to get that win and then eventually take that belt off Nia, and then she's going to get Charlotte at Mania. I can see it now.
She's just going to take out all the blondes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's just the
Queen blonde.
She's just this generation's blonde wrestler.
Yeah.
She's phenomenal.
I'm looking forward to whenever she cashes in. I know that it's been alluded to every time that they talk about Money in the Bank. The commentary team says that they've said it multiple times. They go, if you win the women's Money in the Bank briefcase, it is a 100% chance at this point that you eventually become champion, which scares the shit out of me because if Tiffany Stratton ends up being the first one that loses it,
Yeah, I am nervous as well about that because they do a really good job at pointing it out.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you did have Drew have a failed cash-in, so maybe you don't have the failed cash-in now.
True.
But if she does get the failed cash-in, as much as people don't want to probably say this, you do still have the Rumble.
Yeah.
So, she can win the Rumble. People probably wouldn't like that, but
she has a Money in the Bank and she wins the Rumble. She loses her Mania match, but immediately cashes in after the match and wins that match.
Yeah, why not? It's Tiffy time all the time.
Tiffy time. All right, we will then go to our main event, which I just thought this was weird that it was main eventing. Like, did you feel that way? I think I got here and I was like, oh yeah, we do have one more match. It's the Cody match. The Bloodline match is really main eventing this, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I guess
they weren't even on SmackDown. They had that great segment, but they weren't even on SmackDown.
I probably would have flipped it. I mean, I would have maybe the women's Money in the Bank go last.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there was also just a bunch of chaos in this, as you'll get to. I thought when it went on last, I was like...
Return.
Something.
Yeah.
Something, a return. Another Bloodline member.
Dude, when
there's
going to
be something.
When it went on last, I was sitting there like... Oh shit! Is Roman really going to show up at Money in the Bank? Like this one, he's going to return. Yeah. Like it was going on last. I had the same thought. I think everybody did.
Or even like a Jimmy. Or there's been reports that they signed another Bloodline member. I can't remember his name, but he's like 6'8". He's massive.
I know his name.
I don't remember the name off the top of his head, but it's like something's going to happen.
Zilla?
No, Zilla's. Well, I mean, there's rumors they signed Zilla too, but Zilla's smaller. But there's a 6'8" guy. He's massive. But it's like. I for sure was like, you gotta give me something.
Yeah.
Maybe Dusty Rhodes returns, something big here.
The light shines down. It's like when Vince McMahon fought Jesus. Anyway, Bloodline makes their entrance. Solo is now wearing the lei officially. He is the tribal chief. So he is the guy. But what we see in the intro, Fatu's there. Mm-hmm. But not only is Fatu there, he is one of the ones wrestling. It is a 6-man match, and it's Solo, Jacob Fatu, and Tama Tonga. They're going to be the ones representing Bloodline. Tonga Loa is sitting this one out, but he's there, and he's in a black and red suit.
Yeah, and they made it a good point, which, I mean, we had people in the community tell us, well, there's no way because he's criminal record, and I know I brought that up before as well. Michael Cole does a great point of Triple H had to pull strings, and you have that little side note, but it's like, yeah, he probably did have to. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's nice to get that added like realism just talked about, even if it is just a little sentence here or there.
They're like, we're not letting him in. Then Triple H is like, 19,000 ticket sales. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, come on. Sorry. But it was funny. Like SmackDown, Drew did the whole to Jay. How the hell did you even get in the country? But it's funny. They all enter, meaning Cody, Randy, and Kevin. They each get their own entrance. Takes about 3 hours. It's great though. Cody's rocking. He's got a new pair of Eagles on his shoulders, and he's got gold pants on this time around. He's looking real good.
So cool.
And Randy Orton continues to just beef up, man. Good Lord.
Corey Graves mentioned the match. He's like, he's got to be like 290, 295. He probably is somewhere around
Dude's
that.
like 290 with still with a six pack. Like,
He
just, like
keeps
crazy.
And I know somebody, I watched SmackDown and I saw a comment that said, it was like a Twitch chat, and somebody had commented like, oh, like Randy always eat or drink something when you see him on the SmackDown, which is true, but it's like, how much bigger can you get?
He's eating his Wheaties, man.
You're already massive. You can stop for a little bit.
He's eating his Wheaties, man.
Like, golly.
It's crazy. Anyway, match would start. They would Cody and Solo would be in the ring. They would act like they're gonna fight, but obviously Solo did a heel thing. He tagged in Tama Tonga, and they would go at it. The match would start with Team Cody just flat out dominating. Tama Tonga would just literally take all the spots. They would tag. They'd go one by one, tagging each other in, get good moves off. Then they would, point to Solo, try to get him to come in, but no. That would all change when in-ring debut of Jacob 2. He gets put in. And, commentary speaking it up. It's him and Randy's kind of eyeing him down. And Jacob 2 immediately runs after him, whiffs, and Orton hits him with a vintage Orton DDT off the rope. And I'm sitting there like, damn, like, really? And no, they didn't disappoint me because Jacob 2 no-sells that shit. He gets up and he's just like, ah! And Orton's like on his knees because he was gonna do the wake up taunt for the RKO, and he just looked up at him like, okay, this dude's crazy.
Yeah, and it was a nice shot. You see at least like when he does no-sell it and he pops up, and you see him kind of make these crazy faces in the background, and he's freaking out, and you see Randy's like getting in that zone, but you see Fatu behind him, and you're like, okay, this is cool.
It was Umaga-esque. When Umaga used to do like the it was really good stuff. But the middle of this match it was a lot of Fatu, Solo, so basically the bloodline would dominate Owens and Orton. So it was basically a keep Cody out of the ring at all costs for the bloodline. And they were
smart.
Yeah, they would spin. This was most of the match here. I mean, when I say the most of the match, this was the meat of the match here.
Yeah, and it's nice to, I don't mean to interrupt, but you have a, world champion.
Yeah.
And you separate him, and you're like, you know what? If there's one guy we're not going to go after an attack, it's going to be him, because you think, realistically, like a one-on-one, he's going to beat me.
That's the champ.
Sometimes they do it weird to where like the champ takes the most damage, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
I like the way this one was set up.
Yeah, but Tonga Loa would help on this, actually. Whenever they would get close, Tonga Loa would kind of go over there and hit Cody or hit Kevin, whoever's on the side. So he was getting involved. Just because he wasn't a part of the match doesn't mean he wasn't a part of the match, because he was. They would eventually get the hot tag off, right? But there would also be a hot tag to Solo at the same time. So it's the hot tag to the hot guys, like pause. But they would both come in.
No Diddy.
Yeah, no Diddy. Solo and Cody would just go at it. Cody would then, Super Cody, right? He would do a disaster kick to Solo and then immediately run to the other rope, do a Cody cutter to Tama Tonga, and then he would do a suicide dive to Solo outside the ring. He'd get inside, and then he'd do a suicide dive. He was aimed at Jacob Fatu, but Fatu pulled Tonga Loa into it.
Yeah, and before we go any farther, poor him, because he smacks his head on the table. Yeah. Like he got concussed.
He sold it, and he sold it short, and
I don't even know. Yeah, I mean, he just smacks his head. He you can tell he's out for a second. Like he gets a concussion.
No, what I'm saying is he sells a suicide dive, but he like falls early and nails his head on the table. Like,
just knocked out.
Yeah, I mean, he was out. Yeah. And they even pointed it out in commentary. They're like, he just destroyed his head. But everybody's like, it's Tonga Loa though.
So like just bam.
Yeah. But Jacob Fatu had enough of this. He would kind of get some offense in, and he would go for the barricade spear on Cody, but Cody would throw him over it.
Yeah, and he takes out the doctor.
He took out the medical guy. They're like, we need to get a doctor for the doctor. That's what Cody said, or what Michael Cole said. Then all the stuff would go, right? Would go on. Cody would go for a pedigree on Solo Sikoa in the ring. Solo would reverse it, go to clothesline Cody. Cody ducked, ref bump. He nailed the ref. Good old ref bump. We don't have a lot of those nowadays.
I thought this ref bump was maybe the weirdest one that I've seen. Because he gets hit and he kind of like crumbles and falls down, but then like as the spots are progressing, you see him just like and he like crawls his way out of there. He was getting up
too soon. He was like there was a point where Kevin went over there to yell at him. I'm like, he's already on his feet. I was like, the ref's on his feet. Just get in the ring. Like, normally they just kind of like sit there in like a cradle position and they just kind of like act like they've literally died. But this ref was like, yeah, he was staggering the entire time. Obviously, Cody's gang, so Cody's team, they would all hit their finishers on Solo. Just destroy him. But there's no ref. No ref. Cody and them are then like, we don't have a ref. We're going to kill this man is basically what their thoughts was. They went out and they cleared the announce table off. They cleared the announce table off to the point where they actually unplugged Corey Graves. Mm-hmm. Corey Graves was done on commentary the rest of the night, which was a short amount of time. But Michael Cole was like, am I still on? Okay, I'm still on. Okay, we've lost Cody or Corey. It was just funny. But they set up to do the Shield power bomb through the announce table. Like back in the day, the Shield that Bloodline just did to Paul Heyman a couple weeks ago. But Fatu was like, no. And he starts to take out everybody. KO would then get involved and he'd frog splash Fatu through the table. But KO would go to the ring with Tama Tonga and he would go for a power bomb, but Tonga Loa would come back in from his concussion and give KO a good old rack. Little nut tap.
Yeah, he misses the first one. He said, that one's not good enough. Let me do it again.
He misses the first one, and then when he does the second one, he overcorrects too much, and he actually punches Tama Tonga in the head. I saw it online. He just nails him.
It's like,
KO didn't have him all the way up yet, and he literally just punches the top of Tama Tonga's head. Tama and Tonga did not have a good night. Put it that way. But Cody would end up in the ring with Solo, and he would go for the crossroads. He hit one, go for a second one. And during the second one, that's when Jacob Fatu and everybody would step in.
I think he got two.
Did he get two off?
I think he gets two, and he slowly is going up for the third one.
Yeah.
I think is what happens. And then Fatu pops in.
Fatu would then just basically destroy Cody.
He hit I don't know what they called it, but he hit like a sick whisper in the wind. Like Jeff Hardy, whisper in the wind type. They called it something different. But I was like, holy.
But the rest of the guys, everybody's out now. It's Fatu. Fatu's doing most of the work here. He holds up Cody. And Solo walks over, gives Cody a good old Samoan spike. And Michael Cole goes, you can count till tomorrow. And ref crawls back in the ring. 1, 2, 3. Solo pins Cody Rhodes here. Great stuff. This is what we wanted to see. No returns, which would feel fine normally, but it was the main event. So that I personally felt a little bit. There was a lot of BS-ery happening at the end of this match, and the numbers game became a thing. And we thought about the idea of some form of a fourth member happening. It really felt like that was going to happen at some point here, but we didn't get it. But overall, what we got here was Bloodline winning pretty cleanly, if you can, in a 6-man tag match, right? And Cody taking the pin from Solo. So that's all we asked for. Pop.
Yeah, I'm going to pop it as well. It's pretty much everything we asked for. It's nice to see Bloodline 2.0 act the same way the first Bloodline, with all the effery, interference, all that stuff. Everybody looked good. Solo gets the pin over Cody to build up for the SummerSlam match. Fatu looks like a star.
Yeah.
I'm assuming Fatu and Tama Tonga are going to fight maybe Orton and Owens at SummerSlam, something along those lines or something.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Thoughts to Kevin Owens for his mom. His mom's in the hospital still. So I can't really imagine going out and putting that, to the side and I'm going to go put on this great match because Kevin Owens looked good as well.
Yep.
Tonga Loa is really the only one that that didn't look great in this match. And like I said, it's probably because he had that concussion. But everything else was good.
Yeah. Yeah. I really don't have any complaints here. We needed the Bloodline to do something. Mm-hmm. I'm still under the impression that they need a little bit more for me to... I'm under the impression that Solo Sikoa, I still need a little bit more out of him solo-wise, like legit solo-wise, for me to even begin to take his claiming of being Tribal Chief seriously. Like I still don't. Like when he gets into a ring and they call him the Tribal Chief, he doesn't have that aura at all right now, which might be part of the storytelling that they're trying to give, right? He's very fake Tribal Chief, but there's no aura to it.
Yeah, I think it's... To this point, I've kind of come up with the thought or the feeling of Solo is not going to be the same Tribal Chief with the aura. The aura of Solo is to make us miss Roman.
Yeah.
And it's working really well. Solo beating Cody here, obviously, they're going to set up for that at SummerSlam. But that makes me think with the way that there were no returns here, I'm wondering if there's going to be any returns at SummerSlam. I thought before Money in the Bank, maybe one return here and the rest at SummerSlam. I still think maybe you get something at SummerSlam, but I don't know if it's going to be Roman.
Yeah,
Because Roman would almost seem too soon.
Roman's gonna be the peak of the returns.
Mm-hmm.
So do you do a Uso reunion sooner rather than later? Maybe that's the big thing that happens at SummerSlam. The Usos come out and help Cody in some way, and they do a handshake and a hug, and reunite, and that could be your big SummerSlam moment. I don't know. I really don't know because I agree with you. I felt like this was definitely going to be the first return and the first instance of the Civil War happening at all, but no, nothing.
Yeah, I think maybe that is probably what they do. And then there's, I believe, Bash at Berlin and then Bad Blood. And then there's Survivor Series, I think is how it goes. So there's some time still.
Yeah, time. That's a lot of events.
There's some time, but also at the same time, you know, Roman feels like it should be saved for a SummerSlam.
Yeah.
For a Survivor Series. One of the big four.
Well, the Survivor Series is where they have to do the Civil War, right? That's the whole point of...
I mean, that's what we're assuming.
Oof.
Maybe it's not. Maybe it's... I don't know. Maybe
all of them just come out together. Maybe it's one big return. Maybe we don't see Jay.
Music, and then boom.
What if we don't see Jay until SummerSlam? And he lost some money...
Oh,
no, Jay. He lost some money in the bank. He's not really doing anything. We talked about Chad goes on with the howdy stuff. You write Jay off TV for a little bit, and then they just kind of show up together. They could literally just say, you know what, whole bloodline, like Roman, Usos, Wiseman. That they all come out, and it's a big.
Maybe at SummerSlam, because as much as SummerSlam is a big four, there's almost always some sort of like effery that happens in the main event for SummerSlam. Yeah. Like I immediately think about obviously there was like Roman and Brock, but I think about was it Jon Stewart when he screwed over John Cena? Yeah. For some reason that's ingrained in my head, and it shouldn't be, but it is. So maybe you're right. Maybe there is, whole bloodlines beating down Cody at SummerSlam. Here comes Jimmy. Here comes Jay, and then maybe Paul walks out, and then he's like, "Ladies My and gentlemen, name is Paul Heyman."
Ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna hit like
And then all of a sudden, he just introduced Roman, and then Roman's music. Maybe that's what they do.
Now that
we're thinking about it, man, that's all must be SummerSlam.
That'd be great. Well, I think Money in the Bank was good. It's good show.
Yeah.
A couple things that we didn't like, but overall, the PLEs they're just hitting. They're hitting lately, but
it did exactly what it needed to do to get us to SummerSlam.
Yeah. So a little bit longer of a review here, but that's okay. There's
a lot to get into.
A lot of nuance. Looking forward to Raw. Looking forward to SmackDown. Looking forward to the road to SummerSlam at this point. Well, it's going to be a short road, man.
Short road. It's going to be action packed.
Short road, action packed. Hopefully, we get a good card. Hopefully, we get some less predictable things at SummerSlam happening.
SummerSlam, I don't really care whatever happens. Just Sami Zayn can drop the belt, and I will give this an A+ SummerSlam.
And yeah.
That's all I want.
Yeah, I agree. Other than that, follow us on all of our social medias at COD WrestlePod, COD WrestlePod, and listen to us wherever you get your podcasts at Apple, Spotify, etc. And share with whoever you think may like this type of content. We love the interaction. I'm Will. That's Brandon. We are the Cousins of Destruction Wrestling Podcast, and we will see you next time. We out.